of our season-long video series that started today. So last week, our official competition season started, and as you can see, we're all hard at work getting into intense prototyping and field building. So I can take you guys along and we can see what all of you do. First up over here is our strategy team. They're in charge of driving the robot, coming up with the game strategy, and building our field. So the first step is building the complicated competition field, and Will Blavini, our strategy lead, is going to tell you more about this whole process and how it's going.
Yeah, so basically, one of our philosophies here on the strategy team is that we want to train as if it were real. So what we're doing is we're taking the first official documents on how to build the field, and essentially what we're doing is we're recreating it using plywood and 2x4. So as you can see here, we're working on our scoring nodes, and as you can see, this is one of the posts where a cone would go, and we're currently in the process of fabricating the rest of, I think we're making a third of the scoring station, so that when we practice, we're practicing on something that's very close to the actual replica of the one we'll be using in competition. So
Great
yeah,
job, Will.
that's what we're working on right now.
Field building looks great, and we move on to the next subject. Alright, so over here is our electrical subteam. With the robot, there's three main aspects: the programming, the electrical, and the mechanical for the technical labs. They're in charge of wiring it all up and making sure it all has the sufficient power it needs. So Will Chadwick is our electrical lead. So Will, I'm just going to ask you a few questions about what is electrical been up to today?
So we've been working on this pneumatics test board for the programming team, working on what we're going to do for the board for our test robot Atlas, and then doing some organization because yesterday we went out and got some new storage containers. So this makes it a lot easier for us rather than being super messy, having it all in place where we know where stuff is the time that we actually have to build it.
Great, well good luck to electrical for the rest of the day and the rest of the week. And we'll come back next week for our Overdrive overview. Alright, now over here, we got our design group. So, Chris, can you introduce yourself and who you are and what you do?
Alright, I'm Chris and I'm the design leader. The design team is less of a sub-team with a lot of other students that focus on a specific task, but it's more of a collection of leaders who talk about how we're going to design the robot and how we need to work together between electrical, programming, and mechanical to make sure everything functions well and the robot runs like a well-oiled machine. So right now, we're working on prototyping for a claw to pick up the game pieces. So we got both game pieces here, and we just have this one prototype right now so we can change different variables to see what works best. So right now, we can just kind of pick up things like that, pick up the cone as well. We're just working on perfecting this using some simple prototyping things. Right now, we're prototyping two options to see which one's best. We're going to test them, reiterate them to see which one we want to use in our final robot. We're going to integrate that between the sub-teams to make sure it works together well. So that's what we do at design team.
All right, great job, Chris. Continuing hard work. And over here, we got our mechanical sub-team. So Olaf, our mechanical lead.
Oh wait, let me get my hearing protection out. I always have to be safe.
Always got to be safe. So what do you want us to first introduce yourself? Who you are?
I'm Olaf, and I'm leader of the mechanical sub-team. So right now we're working on prototypes with design team. It's led by Chris over there. And over here Cam is working on just a conceptual, more prototype of a gripping mechanism to pick up the cube and cones we showed it.
Yeah, so me and one of the other teammates, we made this today. It prototypes the two ways we're going to try and rotate our gripper. So it's sideways and up and down.
So for all of you watching, this is the gripper Chris just showed us. And the aim is to have more than just 1 degree of motion. So we want to be able to rotate our game pieces as well as move them up and down. So Camden and Koshik, one of our two mechanical members, made this great prototype just to visualize it before we invest all the time into building it. And we can move over to our programming team who's going to make all this work efficiently and intelligently. So, we got John Couture, our programming lead. So why don't you just introduce yourself and tell us what programming is there?
So programming brings I'm Dominic, our software lead, and programming today we just went over a whole bunch of different logistics on what sensors we want to use with potential design. So we have it, everybody here has a sensor assignment, and it's just going to continue working on the research part of it. So,
Dom, can you tell us about what the coolest sensor you think we're going to use this year?
So it's not fully a sensor as people would think, but we have a camera called the Limelight, which we can use for vision processing, and have it so that it's going to help us so much with its identification and tracking.
Great. So that's the Overdrive overview for our first week of building. As you can see, we've been hard at prototyping, even for between electrical, mechanical, and programming. And we just like to take a moment to thank all of our sponsors who've made this a possibility by donating money, machining opportunities, laptops, and everything between. So we'd just like to say thank you, and we'll see you next week. Can you tell us about what the coolest sensor you think we're going to use this year on the robot?
It's not really a sensor, but
This is a common occurrence in the robotics day. A lot of lousy tools, noisy tools over there, not lousy. So we'll just give it a minute for them to quiet down.